A Way of Life is a coaching consultant company. We help people manage their career and business using astrology. Astrology is a holistic process that allows us to help people align with what they are passionate about. We provide the tools to build your personal development to live your best life. A Way of Life coaching consulting company. For a reading or coaching, call Keisha Reed at 781-602-0986. That's 781-602-0986. Or check our website, www.awayoflife.net. That's www.awayoflife.net. A Way of Life is a coaching consultant company. Live your best life.
Okay, that took a little while. Hi, everybody. For those who will be watching now and those who will be watching at another time, welcome. Happy Mother's Day. I hope everybody is doing well. So today I'm going to be talking about the Taurus New Moon. And I see we have somebody in the chat already, so I'm just going to open up the chat so I can see if anybody's asking any questions or anything. But just trying to get myself all set up here. All right. So we'll be talking about the new moon in Taurus. And I don't think I have any updates at the moment, but yeah, I think I'll just jump right on in. So there are a lot of synchronicities with this new moon. 11/11. The 11/11 is coming from the conjunction from the Gemini North Node and the Neptune energy. So there's a lot of ones in there, which represent a lot of new beginnings, right? That's what ones represent, new beginnings. Plus it's a new moon, so there's also that new moon beginning energy there. And it's an activation to the Gemini North Node, which is your mission in this lifetime. So perhaps there are some things that a lot of people at this time will be getting a lot of clarity on. And really more forward movement. But the month of May also equals out to 2021 if you do the numerology, for those out there who know about numerology. And I remember last year I was talking a lot about, 2020 is the precursor to that 2020 vision that everybody kept referring to. Like, if anybody wears glasses, you know that 2021 is actually the numbers for 2020 vision. So I feel like we're really going to begin to see that now, more than we have in the beginning of the year, because we still had a lot of retrogrades, et cetera, et cetera. And even though we do have a retrograde for Mercury coming up, it is the ruling planet of that Gemini North Node. With Venus there, Venus gives support to any sign that she's in. So I still really feel like on a huge level that this is really going to be more so about, getting more solutions and clarity and movement towards whatever it is that you're building at this time, which is really exciting. I'm excited about it. And Taurus rules being content with your financial flow, your environment, pleasure, the things that you get pleasure from, grounding, being grounded, security, having values that you're comfortable with, that you're putting into practice. I think practice is going to be the bigger part here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that the further I get down. But I really feel like where we're at right now is like we've probably been working on what we have now because of that Pluto retrograde energy since somewhere around 2007, 2008, when Pluto originally went into Capricorn. And Capricorn has kind of been the catalyst to this entire shift that we are experiencing now at this time. And I just feel like whatever it was, anywhere between that from 2007, 2008, all the way up until now, anywhere between whatever it was that has come up for you that you're really starting to heal and getting some answers towards and movement. And I really, really feel like at this time, where those things are coming back up, like you're getting a second chance almost. That's how I really feel about this energy, is that we're getting a second chance to work on those things that maybe we may not have been able to do at that time. And we're being clear about our intentions and what we want, what matters to us for what we're building right now. And that Taurus energy is really going to help us commit to whatever it is that we're working on at this time. So this new moon is bringing opportunities for you to align with abundance, wealth, and joy when you live life on purpose. That's why I named this Taurus New Moon video, Living Life on Purpose. This new moon is also going to trine the sun and Pluto in Capricorn and retrograde right now. So that's huge. Again, it's just another activation to a new way to think about whatever it is that you're grounding yourself in right now. And then it'll sextile Neptune that's currently in Pisces. Jupiter is about to enter Pisces for a short period of time, just giving us an inkling of, like, for one, we're on the right path finally, right? It's really going to show us how to believe in our intuition. Not that mind is not important, but at this juncture where we're at with it right now, it's more so like giving you the strength to believe in the ideas that are coming with you so you can continue to build on this. You know, believing in spirituality, whatever that means for you, having faith in the fact that you are on the right track, and the things that are coming to you to help you gain some momentum and some more building blocks towards whatever it is that you're building. That Pluto energy is bringing truth and transformation and empowerment. Just furthering our understanding to whatever answers, clarity that we need right now. You're ready for change, a dream that improves your life, Neptune. Trust, have faith from spirit that what you want next. And that's what Jupiter and Pisces is really going to show us, is what's to come. I feel like we probably all gotten to a point where we're pretty secure, stable in whatever it is that we've started since 2008, right? And now it's like we're ready for that next level. So what's going to come? Is it next year? I believe it's next year Jupiter officially moves into Pisces. So we'll be getting a glimpse of that, if you will, which I'm really, really, really excited about. But a shift in values and priorities. This will be a time for embracing unconditional love and anything spiritual with that Neptune energy. And then we have Saturn trine Mercury, which is about being able to concentrate, especially with help from that Neptune energy. Sometimes it can bring confusion, right? Like I've been having a hard time, like going back to that 2020 vision, what I was talking about in practice. Like it's been in my head so long and I haven't been able to move, or at least it felt like that way for so long, that I'm like, okay, am I still doing this right? Like, okay, I'm doing, like just believing, giving you more faith and self-esteem that what you're doing got you this far, right? You can see the fruits of that, right? So you're getting some kind of gifts, something in the material that's showing you like, yes, you've done this far. So don't worry, not don't worry. I feel like that's such a inconsiderate thing to say, right? Because we're human, we're having this human experience. It's natural to worry. But to just have that faith and belief that, you're on the right path in alignment with your purpose in this lifetime. And this is going to bring common sense to build that security. And the Gemini energy is going to bring that mercurial energy is going to bring the progression of those goals. The information you didn't have is going to become available now. Like a deeper knowing is rising up somehow, some way. The mind is trying to connect again to that practice of achieving all of these things, right? Like, okay, so where do I put this information? And once you begin to get more pieces to the puzzle, I feel like it's almost going to be like a well-ran system, because you've worked on so many things that maybe you weren't getting answers to. And it's going to be like, oh, I know where this goes now. Like, oh, I know what to do with this now, right? Perhaps you've tried doing something different. Have you tried doing something different? That's going to be that part of that practice that you really need to understand. It's like one of those things where you have to go through it to really understand it before you can get any answers, or you got to do the research and the study, if you're feeling lost or something about something like that. I remember when I first got on my spiritual journey, I think I had been on my spiritual journey for quite some time at this point in my life, but I think my oldest son was about 13, and he had been going through a lot at that time in his life. And it was like me trying to make the decision to, what could I do to help him? But what I was really realizing is that I don't think that I could help him, not because I wasn't a good mom or anything like that, but I had the deeper feeling that he needed a man in his life. He needed more of the male time, the male figure, to learn discipline and the choices and things that he was asking himself in his head, but perhaps didn't really know how to ask me, or knew instinctively somehow, whether he could intellectualize it or not, that he needed a male. He needed, even if it wasn't like when I think about the Gemini energy, if you haven't caught my live I did on IG for Venus entering Gemini, and my live I did on Mercury entering Gemini, I would definitely go check those out. I give a lot more information in there that's very specific to the Gemini energy, but really understanding like that Gemini energy is your childhood education. So how children learn is they copycats, they copy whoever's around them to learn, well, does this really fit me? Or maybe I don't like that. But within that process, they gain their own style, just the same way adults do when they're learning something new, right? Whether they can intellectualize it or not is a very different story. But I feel like in that way, this is how they learn, right? And, I felt like he needed to be around his father more, just so that he can even see, it wasn't necessary, maybe not even necessarily having someone to ask questions, because his father had always been in his life. He went to see him every weekend and vacation, summer vacation. So it was just, for me, I felt on a deeper level like he was in need of male energy, right? So at that time, I had decided to let him stay with his dad. I thought that was the best choice. And lo and behold, did I learn an entirely different scenario about that part of my life, which, by the way, my son's father and I had been broken up for 8 years at that point. He had already had another relationship and a whole entire family. So this really naively took me for a loop. Right. So the first year things went great. He was staying with his dad. I'm pretty sure he was learning a lot. We had managed to, work things out. And I want to say after that year, I hadn't seen my son for a while. I couldn't get in touch with him all of a sudden. His phone was always off. And if I called his dad, like his number was changed. I couldn't get through to him. And then I want to say a few months it was a few months after that I had received a letter in the mail for child support, right? And so from that, what was he, 13? So from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, to the age of 19, I had been paying child support. At the very same time, I was still learning, going on my spiritual journey, but that was a very, very dark time for me. I kept feeling like how would I not know that? Like, I must be stupid. Like, all these things were going through my mind about myself as a person, my ability to judge people, like so many different things. I had went through what we call in the spiritual community is my dark soul of the night. And I wasn't very happy. I was still doing what I needed to do on my spiritual journey. I was seeking for answers. I was doing everything in my power that I thought that I could to help me heal and get through that time. I had also started my business at that time, or began to get more pieces of the puzzle, if you will, and learned that there was no way that I was going to be able to do this with so much money being taken away from me. Like, I literally, for that 5 years, didn't receive any taxes. And I was in court every other month, every other 3 months, every other 4 months. I never gave up on my son. I still to this day have not had a legit sit down conversation with my son's father about why he did what he did. Although, I mean, obviously at this point I got an idea. And it was just like one of those things, like, came out of left field, like, whoa, but I share all that to say I kind of resonated with this story by way of this energy that we are experiencing at this time, right? Because that was within that frame of that 2008 and now, right? And what was I learning at that time? What was I challenging myself to do at that time? How was I overcoming that? And in those moments, like, even up until the last 3 years, I have to be honest, I didn't have answers. I still felt really, really lost, but I did what I had to do on a regular basis, especially by then I had my second child, Amir, and I was like, I have to be strong for him, if not anything else, right? And so I did everything that I needed to do step by step, where I could, when I could. But it wasn't until I got an astrology reading that it really changed my life in a major way. I was obviously going through this battle with myself of having all these questions, doing things and feeling like I wasn't getting anything in return, any reprieve in return. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I healing right? Should I be talking to other people? Like, when I tell you I was doing everything that I possibly could to get through this time, I've done everything. I have a certification in metaphysics. Most people don't even know that. I don't even talk about that, but I have this wonderful, beautiful connection to this woman who also was a great part of my healing. But nonetheless, I got my astrology reading, and this woman told me things at that time that I really, really, really needed to hear. And it was kind of like that proof that I'm not stupid. Like, I'm doing things correctly. I'm making smart decisions. It's just that I didn't have the knowledge enough to know that I was doing those things, right? I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my strength. I didn't know my weaknesses, if you will. I didn't know my value. I didn't know my purpose, and in so many words, I had been explaining to her how I was a teen mother, and I didn't want my sisters growing up being a teen mother. So in my mind, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go pick up my sisters so they can really see what it's like being a teen mom. I'm gonna take them out on events so they can see, this life is not a life for you if you don't have all your P's and Q's together, right? Not that having children was bad, although I don't think I explained that part right, because my sisters to this day, by the way, are grown. I think my last sister is 18. I believe Nyla's 18 now. Thank God they've all graduated with no children, high school with no children. But the other three are pretty grown. Like, they've been out of school for a while now. And they don't have any kids still to this day. And I'm like, I want to be an auntie or whatever. But within me telling her that story, she was like, oh my gosh, she said, you just broke a generational curse. And I was like, what do you mean? In that moment, still learning, I didn't know what the heck she was talking about. But as she began to explain it and broke it down in my chart, and it was just so elegant and made so much sense. And it was me. She was doing a personal chart on me, the power that I have within me. If only I had given it some attention and realize and recognize that, you know what I mean? And I didn't have that right away after that reading, but I want to say about 3 months later, she called me back and she said, actually she emailed me, and she said, your story really touched me. I had a client who was going to take my astrology class. She paid for it in full. For whatever reason, she can't make it. She said she doesn't want the money. She said, I can choose anybody that I want to take this class, but whatever. And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to do that? It literally told me my whole life. Up until that point, I had answers. I had clarity. I had so much, and it changed my life. It changed my perspective on things. I obviously still had a lot more growing to do. I had to learn a lot more from that point, but up until then, I was lost, if you will. And again, I'm sharing all that stories because even there were like little pockets of things that I did within those times that I'm now seeing the benefits of. And I actually was inspired to do this live this way after doing a reading for one of my clients. And she was asking me for specific information on wealth building and how that language kind of coalesces with the decisions that we make. But because we don't know how wealth is such a huge part of not just success about having a business and being a business person, but anything in your life. These are all tools and words and languages that we should be having anyways, so that we can learn how to make the appropriate decisions to become wealthy, right? And so most people who listen to me already know I am a huge Boyce Watkins fan. I started listening to him well before this, during my spiritual journey, and even before this situation had happened with me. But going through so much, again, I was just listening. I wasn't really acting on anything. It was still just in my mind processing. And there is a term that he uses a lot. There's a lot of terms that he uses, but there's a term that he used specifically in one video that I think that it really explained what 2020 gave us. Is we're beginning to understand a wealth building mindset through opportunity, patience, and perspective. That's the age of Aquarius. It's bringing that new way of thinking, that higher mind, that higher understanding of information solutions that we need to become wealthy, right? And that's all Capricorn. That Capricorn, even though I crowned last year as the year of Capricorn, but even bigger than that, at that time, it was on the axis of the North Node was on the axis of Cancer. And Capricorn was actually in the South Node. And Cancer rules legacy, ancestral line, bloodline, security, financial security, emotional security, generational wealth, and breaking generational curses, right? And I feel like on a massive level, that's where we're at right now. And he has another term that he used in this specific video called pass over opportunities repeatedly. That's the age of Pisces, right? What we did was we just went with the flow, right? We were just pawns in a big fit in the big ocean, right? Like fish in an ocean. Like not that we were, not just because we have a poverty mindset, but because we're not taught those things from day one. For example, he said, you know, a non-cook is going to look into the refrigerator and see there's nothing to eat. But somebody who knows how to cook is going to look in the refrigerator and say there's this, and that to eat because they know how to cook. You know, so we have to learn what an opportunity looks like, going back to that first one, opportunity. And just so that I can challenge myself to remember, we're going to break down opportunity, we're going to break down patience, and we're going to break down perspective. You know, so we have to learn what opportunity looks like. You know, during that time, not only was I already listening to voice walking, but I was also listening to the spiritual community because I was on that vibration, that journey, that healing that I was seeking. And lo and behold, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I don't lose my spot, guys. You know, I had taken classes many moons of times, right? Many of moons of times I had taken classes. I worked in the nonprofit for years, so I knew where to go to get help, these short educational classes and things of that nature. But the problem with all of that stuff is that they only get you to one specific level. And that level is to work for somebody else, or again, to be a pawn, so that somebody else can make moves for you. You know what I mean? Like we're not being given information that liberates us, that gets us to freedom, to true wealth and understanding, right? And at that time, I didn't know that, but I definitely kept asking myself, like, why is this happening to me? You know, why do I keep running into these roadblocks? Or I would learn little bits in here and then get stuck, learn little bits of here and then get stuck. And it was just things happening over a period of time. And although, you know, those things were painstakingly annoying and stressful and just really degrading, to be quite frank, because I like to think of myself as somebody who's highly educated, who does make good decisions. You know what I mean? And it was like, for some reason, I always just felt like I was never finding full, true answers within what it was I was doing. You know, I was still broke. You know, I was still working for somebody else. And my main goal was to start my own business. I never got complete answers from any one in particular person. It was always just bits and pieces broken up here and there from different organizations and places that I had went to. And they've taught me a lot. Don't get me wrong, within those processes, I learned a lot. But also, I think what we've learned at this time is that, you know, you have to pay. Right. Money is a big deal within a lot of the decisions that we make when it comes to becoming wealthy. You have to be willing to pay for the services to get those answers that I think that we lacked for a very long time. But, you know, we were taught, not to believe in the banks and don't put your money here and don't do investments and, all these kind of generational curses that we are now beginning to see in a different light. And just about, I want to say it was back in 2012, I had met, I'm just making sure that I'm reading from the right place. But then I had met Brian back in 2012. And crazy story about that is when we originally met, I was still within this process of not having enough money for from the child support, right? And so it didn't go any further than that initial appointment was just to get me registered, just to get my business registered. That was just the tip of the iceberg. And then I want to say it was actually 5 years later, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yep, about 2017, 2018. I think we were friends on Facebook that whole entire time. And I completely forgot about it. Like I said, I had been going through so much that I wasn't paying attention to a lot. But at that point, I had finished the astrology class, so I was feeling a little bit better. I was beginning to make videos and doing the astrology at that point, and things started to feel a lot better. I started, really, digging in and making some serious decisions about my work. Like I was like, I don't want to be here in 5 years. I got off welfare. I'm no longer on any public assistance except for housing. And I started asking for raises, because when you're in the nonprofit field, you get good money depending on what you do, but they almost never give you raises. It's not really like enough to build the way you need to when you're trying to start your own business, right? Again, it's that just enough, but it doesn't actually ever fully fulfill you within whatever it is that you do. And so I think it was that I just started posting more about the astrology stuff, and Brian reached out to me, and I took his investment class. And I don't even have that book. I really should have brought that book over here so that I could show you the book that he has, a book out on budget. And I cannot tell you, and I know that I've spoken about him in other videos, but I strongly suggest, if you haven't already, to go check out cwimoney.com and whatever it is he's doing. I don't know if he's still running those financial classes anymore, but I'm pretty sure you can get coaching from him. I paid for everything that I had there, and even that relationship grew so much over the time that we were working together. I think it was over the last 3 years, right? And I learned so much in a different way. He looked like me. He came from where I came from. So when he was explaining it, it wasn't like the nonprofits that I had gone through. He had the real knowledge and education of what it takes to actually get your business up off the ground. He even had some other tips and tricks and tools that I had never even heard of before. And it just blew my mind. And it was another one of those awakening moments where I was like, oh my God, like this whole time I could have been doing this, and for whatever reason it wasn't able to happen, right? But I was grateful for that. And once I did that and I started taking those smaller steps to build on the education that I had there with him, and it wasn't just investment, it was money in general, right? I learned about trust funds and like the meaning behind that. And he made money make sense from a perspective and a level that, people who live in poverty could really understand, because that was his background. And he had really dedicated his services to making it easy and simple, because he realized obviously the same thing, right? And in a sense, I had kind of already knew these things, but I didn't know, again, the whole story. So I studied under him for the last 3 years. I did end up taking some of Boyce Watkins classes that taught me a lot about investment, and it was also hands-on. If you haven't gone to one of his classes, I highly suggest you do it. This man is, his wealth and knowledge is like, it's so big. It's so big. It really changed my life. And I listen to him every day. He puts a video out, I'm like, boop, I'm on it. You know what I mean? Because I know that I've learned so much from him. And I want to say last year was when I really, really learned this lesson. Believe it or not, even though I've been working on this stuff for years, you know. But last year, you know, that cycle with that Cancer Capricorn eclipse really brought in a bunch of gifts for me and showed me all that work did not go in vain. And I got so much money that year from places that I forgot about. You know, this is me in my depressed state. Like, how do you do that? You know, how do you forget about the money that you've put out there into the world, into the universe, right? I had Aquarius Maximus. If you don't know her, I would definitely go follow her. She's a spiritual healer, astrologist, numerology too, I think. But she does a bunch of, oh, I know what it is. She does the cardology things. You know, she uses the deck of cards to do your readings. She's really dope. But she has her own coin. She actually has her own business, Ethereum business and investment. And believe it or not, I was learning about this. This was years ago. Like, I had that account, I think from last year when I had that account, it had been 5 years. So whatever I had put in there was sitting and growing and gaining money from 5 years. And I think I had seen her on a video and I was like, oh shoot, I know her. Like, what the heck happened to the money that I had with her? I had forgot all about it. I got on the phone and spoke with her, beautiful lady. And obviously, because the relationship hadn't grown, I took my money out and I was learning all this new ways to use money. And I took that money and I put it somewhere else. I also had money with the priesthood from the spiritual platform that I listened to on a regular basis. And he happened to reach out to me. I guess we had hit our mark. I think it was like 5 years at that point where I was in a real estate investment group with them, and I know he's still doing that. But I guess the way it was set up is like every 5 years you can either take your money or reinvest it, and then I think it goes to 10 years, 15 years, blah 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 blah. And so obviously, again, because the relationship hadn't been manifested because I was going through so much, I took that money and I reinvested it in other places. And then we had all the stimulus money and everything else that was going on with my business actually being in a place I capitalized in places that I had and never in a million years. You hear what I'm saying to you? Would I have thought that would have been possible for me where I was at and what I was going through in my life? I thought I was the worst person in the world. Hey, how you doing? I didn't see you there. I thought I was the absolute worst person in the world. I was in a very, very, very dark place. And being able to kind of have that clarity come in at that time, honestly, it was just another indication that, you know, everything that I did didn't go unseen, right? Yeah, it's just one of those things, you know. I don't think anybody ever could have predicted that, but anyways, so recognizing an opportunity, right? So that's what you have to do. You really have to learn money. You have to get into it. Find somebody who you trust. Again, I follow Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's right on YouTube. And I also follow, and then Brian, if you haven't checked out CWImoney.com, I would definitely go there, speak to him, get as much help as you can. He has a book out too. I don't remember the name I wish I would have had it with me, but I don't want to get up while I'm doing a live. But he has a book out right now. It's literally like this big. But I'm telling you, I know it's worth gold because everything that's in that book, I'm not just a fan, I'm a client. And I can tell you it works, right? But in that moment, you know, from that time going through all of that stuff and then receiving the benefits when I did, what I learned was patience, right? And discipline, even really, if you think about it. But that's what you have to have. You have to have that harvest in order to get to the harvest. Sorry, you have to plant a seed, right? This is how I'm thinking of this whole entire process and what I was doing, even though I wasn't seeing the fruits of my labor. And I know they were for very real reasons, but on a bigger scale, right? When you get into that Plutonian energy, that Phoenix rising energy, and you take your life and the things that have happened to you and you look above them from a different perspective, I just learned patience, right? So now I can see the fruits that come from planting the seed and letting it sit and wait. Of course, I'm going to repeat that process. Why wouldn't you? You know, who wouldn't when you go through it? You have to go through it and see it for yourself. I feel like I can tell people this story 1,000 times, but until you make that first step to change your life, to do something different that you have been already doing, you'll never know. You know what I mean? So, perspective. When it comes to generational wealth, is recognizing an opportunity that's going to bear fruit for the future. So now when I make decisions, I don't think about the here and now. I think about, well, what do I want this money to do for me in 2027? You know, and then I start making my plan by using my budget and all those tools that I learned to start planning for the here and now, right? Those are the daily goals and things that you work on to get to that future goal, right? You know, and I think that's what 2020 really brought us. That's on a bigger scale, right? On a universal scale. That's what 2020 is helping us understand. The universe is making it so our kids won't remember having to learn financial wealth. Like, for people out there who went to church, you don't remember the first time you went to church, right? Right? Because you was a baby, you was an infant. And in this way, my son wasn't actually he was an infant. I just, again, didn't know it, but he doesn't know that he's already on the journey to wealth. You know, he's not going to realize that until he gets old enough to understand what money is, right? And start to make those beautiful choices to put and follow that same process, right? And so I'm working on even doing little things here and there for him. I got some financial cards. I don't even remember. Is it? Let me see. Where the heck are they? He's always taking them too. I'm going to see, because at least I can show you that. Yeah, Financial Jumpstart Academy. You see this? See these cards? Can you see that? Financial Jumpstart, right? And he loves this. He doesn't know what he's learning, by the way. He's just like, he gets to work with mommy, and he thinks that's the coolest thing in the world. As you can hear him out there, I must be on here too long. But look at this, breaks down financial terms, right? So it says asset, a useful or valuable thing, asset. And that's what we do. We go through these cards every day, and we practice here and there different terms. And he loves it, you know. He absolutely loves it. He thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. But, you know, these are just that planting those seeds, right? And I'll be doing more stuff as he grows older that correlate to his age and knowledge and his ability to understand things, right? But I think those are the tools now that we're learning especially with the axis now being in Gemini and Sagittarius. The North and South Node axis is now in Gemini, Sagittarius. So what's the continuation of breaking a lot of these generational curses that we have about the understanding of wealth and wealth building and a wealth building mindset and how to build generational wealth ultimately, right? Is to educate the children, include them within your process, right? Because I got a 21-year-old, or he'll be 21 this year, and he's struggling with this. He's having a really hard time where he's at in his life. He's doing good. He's in college. He's got the right idea, but the same things that I was lacking, the same knowledge and understanding I was lacking, he's still trying to find his way. And because he's at that peculiar time in his life, of course he doesn't want to listen to mom. Mom's not cool. Mom doesn't really know. She just wants me to be the best, right? You remember thinking like that at that age. And so for me, I've been trying to be even more creative with him, and what kind of businesses can he start right now that he might be interested in. And even that's been hard for me, because he doesn't really know what he wants at this age. But I'm trying to do the things that he's interested in the most, and build off of that. So you'll be seeing a lot more businesses from me over these next few months, years, really, in relation to this process, right? I think one of the things, and this is my final, I'll get off my soapbox here. I won't give everybody their day back, but as a career coach of 8 years, what's his sign? My oldest son, he's a Cancer. As a career coach, you said the North Node, right? The one that we're having right now is in Gemini. That's that Gemini Sagittarius axis is about education, really being curious about learning and being committed to it, right? On that Gemini end, it's smaller courses. You don't have to do the long-term education with Sagittarius. These are all the things we're rethinking, right? How can we do education differently? We're all at home. A lot of us are being forced to work from home and learn from home, right? How can we do those things differently? Not that education is out completely, right? There are still some fields and things, that you have to go to school for, right? So I'm not saying in its entirety, but definitely rethinking how we can do that. Does he like bookstores? No. No. I wish. But maybe open a bookstore. That could definitely be something too, and that really goes back into what I was mentioning before, is this idea about, only doing what you're passionate about, right? Right. Because when I do a lot of my career coaching, that theory, that process in the nonprofit world is really about, what do you already have skills in? Do you want to continue doing that in a different place, in a different sector, right? Is it going to be nonprofit? Are you going to do corporate? Or, are you going to do something completely different than what you do? And then you're taking your skills and knowledge that you already have, and you're kind of, taking what is transferable to this new path, new career that you want. And all those things are great, right? I'm not saying that there's anything bad about it, but when you're learning financial wealth, those things are only going to get you, again, but so far. Right? You are going to have to do things that you might not think are popular, or that they don't resonate with you, or, just different things, because, that's what wealth building is really all about. Right. So, and I'll be talking more about this as I do. That's why I'm really trying not to give too much information, because this is going to be another entire topic. But, the bottom line is that we have to learn how to also do things that are consumable. What's going to get you money? Not that money is the end all be all, right? Because I know, especially for people in the spiritual world, we get caught up in that idea that, well, I'm not doing this for money and all that stuff there. And that's great, right? If you can afford to do that and live your life and still be happy, kudos to you. God bless you. Thank you. Good job. For the people who understand now that in order to live in this world, you need money, unfortunately, that dirty money, right? But also you can take that and change your life in such a way where you can now implement the things that you want. It's just really unfortunate that you need money to do that. And that means you have to be willing to get down and dirty and play the game, right? You can still hold your morals about money and how you feel about money, and you make sure you give it away if that's what you choose to do with it. Volunteer, become a philanthropist. Sell your idea. Like, there are so many different ways that you can do this that can also, not take away from your beliefs when it comes to money. I can't even begin to tell you that it's worth looking into. Further educate yourself, go down the rabbit hole, learn something different, challenge yourself every day to do something different. It can only, what do you got to lose, right? Either you do it and you don't learn anything, or you do it and you learn something that changes your life, right? So study, what does public want or need? Exactly. And that goes back to the financial education that I'm talking about. That language within that financial education, that's what it teaches you. And I'll be talking more about that. I don't know when. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit up here and tell that lie. But I have the topics. I have the discussion points. I will be back on here to continue having this conversation in the different ways that you can buy into consumable products. If you're interested, if that's what you're looking for. But I really think that this new moon is really challenging us to do that. And it's also given us the solutions, the services, the people to help us do that. And it's just a beautiful thing. I hope this information was helpful. Peace. Oh, I got to take this out. Uh-oh.
A Way of Life is a coaching consultant company. We help people manage their career and business using astrology. Astrology is a holistic process that allows us to help people align with what they are passionate about. We provide the tools to build your personal development to live your best life. A Way of Life Coaching Consulting Company. For a reading or coaching, call Keisha Reed at 781-602-0986. That's 781-602-0986. Or check our website, www.awayoflife.net. That's www.awayoflife.net. A Way of Life is a coaching consultant company. Live your best life.